Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It is currently 12:38 p.m. and today's date is the 30th of October 2024. Good afternoon one more time. How are you doing? How are you doing today, guys? I hope you're doing wonderful. I hope you had lunch. I hope you're having a good day at work or at home or church or at school or whatever, wherever you are. Well, if you're in school, don't watch this, okay? Uh, And if you're whatever you're doing, just make sure you are free to watch this, okay? All right. Thank you one more time for tuning into the live stream. It is your boy Genesis in the building. I am back for another live stream. Yes, I told you I was going to get back here. You know what time it is. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. And of course, you know what we are here for. It is days, literally days from knowing who the 47th president of the United States is going to be. The title of actually 6 days. The title of today's stream is Good Vibes with Genesis because I have good vibes with you guys every single time I come up here. You guys make it all worth it, and it's just fun just, interacting with most of you guys on the live stream. And I've learned a lot from you, like I always say, and I've, you know, gained a lot of knowledge just doing this. And maybe some of you have gained some knowledge listening to me. Who knows? But I know for a fact I have gained a lot from you guys just doing this show every day, day in, day out. But you guys are the best, no doubt. All right, let's put the polls up. All right, the poll is up there. Let me know what you think in the poll. All right, if you're just tuning in, thank you. Welcome to the Genesis show. Yes, I might have to title my show The Genesis Show or The Genesis Madhouse Show. I think The Genesis Madhouse Show would be better. However, my name is Genesis. Welcome to the live stream. And if you're just tuning in, like the live stream. And of course, there's been a lot of update in both parties, like the Dems and the Republicans. It's been getting spicy up there, bro. It's been getting really spicy. As you can see, during the MSG, well, like we streamed yesterday, the MSG event for the 45th Trump was a huge news for the Democratic Party. They had a lot of things to say about it. And also, yesterday, the president of the United States had some situation during his speech, and it was wild. It was wild. So we're gonna listen to Kamala's response to President Joe Biden when he said the "Make America Great Again" supporters are garbage, according to him. And you know, he's just responding to what happened at the MSG event. So let's listen to Kamala's response to the president's remark when it comes to Trump supporters. Let's hear.
Well, last people to talk about what's at stake in this election and to point out that the American people have a real choice and a very important decision to make in 6 days. And it is about who will not only lead the country but occupy the White House where critical decisions are made that include how we think about who we are as a nation and whether we are going to be a nation of people who attempt to unify and break through this era of divisiveness, or are we going to be a nation of people who have the president doing in the Oval Office what they're intended with? And I think that the turnout last night and the kind of feedback that we are receiving is a strong indication that the American people actually want a leader who is going to bring us together. And that's the type of leader I intend to be.
You talking to President Biden in his comment last night about coffee?
Listen, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments. But let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not. And as President of the United States, I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not. That is my responsibility, and that's the kind of work that I've done my entire career, and I take it very seriously. They told me last night that this didn't come up.
Are you concerned about what the tactics may have on voters, on the divisiveness of the election, and whether or not it's going to dissuade some people from supporting you because of your ability to president?
I've been very clear with the American public. I respect the challenges that people face. I respect the fact that we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and that most people want a president that understands that gets that, and approaches their role of leadership that way. I've been very clear from my earliest years as a prosecutor. I never asked anyone, are they a Democrat or Republican? The only thing I asked folks is, are you okay? And that's the kind of president I will be.
Madam Vice President, on a separate subject, last night you mentioned removing people in the country who are here illegally. What do you mean? That's an immigration statement, obviously. Were you referring to people who have come here before illegally, or can you expand on what you meant by that comment?
What I intend to do on the issue of immigration, as I said last night and have said continuously, we need to fix our broken immigration system in a number of ways. We need to strengthen the border and put more resources at the border, which is why I support the bipartisan bill that Donald Trump killed that would have otherwise put 1,500 more border agents at the border, put more resources into prosecuting transnational crime, and what's very important is put more resources into stemming the flow of fentanyl around the country. And when I am elected president, I will bring that bill back and I will sign it into law. I also have done the work and have in my policy going forward will strengthen what we need to do to deal with, for example, illegal entry between ports of entry. That is something that we need to tighten up. I will do the work also about ensuring that we have comprehensive immigration reform in a way that we allow hardworking people who have earned citizenship a path to actually be able to gain citizenship because they have earned it, and that includes everyone from our farm workers to dreamers.
Just to follow up on the
Once again,
do you sympathize with anybody who do feel offended by or insulted by the government?
I am running for president of the United States. I will be traveling to 3 states today to do what I have been doing throughout, which is talking with the American people about the fact that, first of all, I get it in terms of the concerns they have about challenges like the price of groceries. Second, my highest priority is to address that and to lift them up around their ambitions, their aspirations, and their dreams, which is why I have a very specific and detailed plan about strengthening our economy. Leading economists have reviewed my plan and indicated it will strengthen the economy and that Donald Trump's plan will weaken the economy. So I'm going to be spending full time, as I've been, talking with the American people, whoever they voted for last time. And as I've said and will repeat over and over again, I am sincere in what I mean. When elected President of the United States, I will represent all Americans, including those who don't vote for me, and address their needs and their desires.
You just heard the Vice President Kamala Harris speak about the comments the president made. I think that was smart of her to do. She clarified, look, I am the one running, not Joe Biden. But it's still going to be a big deal to the voters, just like the comments that was made in MSG Garden from the comedian. All right, let's listen to what CNN has to say pertaining to that.
It's a nothing burger.
I couldn't agree more.
I mean, y'all are trying to make the listen.
You don't get to have it both ways.
No, I'm
you
not.
know, you can't say it's a joke, and so but it's serious, and let's do round the clock
But one
media
second.
coverage
But one
when it's a
second.
comedian.
You mind if I-
But when the president of the United States says it, no, we'll give him a free pass.
I'm, you know what's crazy? I want you to take the president of the United States to task. You do that. And I want you to do that as well. Take him to task and say that his comments were inappropriate. Actually, I want you to get a warm, cozy blanket and say it reminds you of 2016 when Hillary Clinton called us deplorables, right?
That's happening.
And then what I'm going to tell you is the fact that Kamala Harris got on stage tonight in front of 100,000 people and talked about the America that she wanted. I'm going to tell you about the fact that Kamala Harris said that she's going out on the campaign trail with people like Liz Cheney, that she has Bush's campaigning for, that she's going to put a Republican in her cabinet, that there is nobody on God's green earth that can look you directly in the face with any level of intellectual honesty and tell you that the America that Kamala Harris wants versus the America that Donald Trump wants is the exact same. And so, yes, listen, you want to talk about foot and mouth disease? That's Joe Biden. Do we want him on the campaign trail?
But that's the same
sources that
thing,
we have,
both
we actually
sides.
do want him on the campaign trail, contrary to popular belief, because he still does well.
I will say, though,
with
Bakari,
certain demographics.
he was in his house, the White House. He was in his house doing this, and the reporting is that there are places that he can be useful, but he's not everywhere, like you might expect a sitting president to be for his vice president.
I don't know that I would expect this president to be everywhere in this moment. I mean, look, a critical element, any coach will tell you, any CEO will tell you, a critical element of running a team and winning is assessing the strengths and weaknesses of your team members and making sure you allocate them in the right way. Joe Biden has never been a big arena speaker. He's never been the most fluid speaker. And by the way, as someone who had a stutter growing up, it's very obvious to me that there's an apostrophe at the end of supporters there. He was referring to the garbage spewed by supporters, not simply the supporters themselves. But Joe Biden has been on the campaign trail. He's best getting ice cream in Maryland like he was today. He's best showing moments of empathy in Arizona like he was last week. He's best with union folks as he was in Pittsburgh last week as well. You use people where they are best. You put Obama in a big arena, you put Michelle in a big arena, and you put Joe Biden in front of a bunch of union people doing retail politics.
You could make the argument that they would be fine if Joe Biden wasn't anywhere near a microphone between now and next Tuesday.
Let me just accept the most charitable framing of this, which you just gave. Yeah. Why is he sitting in front of a laptop at the exact same moment Kamala Harris is out on his backyard trying to give the closing argument to her campaign? What in the world is he doing? Now, I don't accept your framing of it personally because I actually do believe he, Harris, the Democratic Party, and most of their campaign do believe that half the country is garbage. They've also said people who go to Trump rallies are Nazis. And so it's pretty apparent the disdain with which they hold half of the country in.
That's not true. Bakari already litigated it in Kamala's speech tonight.
But as a tactical matter today,
no, but you don't just get to say
why in the world is Joe Biden giving remarks at the same time as Kamala Harris?
I'll give you that. We're going to talk about other.
I thought he was going to be here for a couple of segments. I'm sorry.
That's fair enough. If you want to talk about who's running with various candidates and what they're saying, where's Mike Pence? Where's Nikki Haley? Where's every single Republican living vice president and president? They're not speaking for Donald
except
Trump.
for Sarah Palin.
You got me there.
Haley's for Trump.
Haley
We'll
is
get
not
to
on the
that.
trail.
I'll get to the Nikki
Haley's
Haley
not on the
argument
trail.
shortly.
They haven't spoken since June, so she might
She
be.
spoke
but
at our convention.
Kinda.
I think what we
She
need
has
to
not
do-
been there. She has not been on the trail. They haven't spoken since June.
She spoke at our convention.
I think
Full-throated
Kamala
endorsement.
Harris is running a young and modern and fresh campaign. It is very rare to be the vice president of a president running while he is still president. That does not happen a lot. So she has to walk a very fine line. And I think the thing is that she has to separate herself from the Biden-Harris campaign to show us what the Harris-Walz campaign would look like. So I think it makes sense.
It's more of the
that
same. She
he's-
couldn't
it's
even
not more
answer
of
a
the
simple
same. It's
question of what would
100%
you
more-
do
not more
differently.
of the same.
She stood at that. She stood there
Because
tonight in the
she's
ellipse and
walking
said,
a
"I will be
fine line.
honest
Bunch
with
of
you. I
cap.
will never lie, and I will say difficult things. But I can't tell you one mistake that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made. It's because she believes all of the horrible policies
Have you
that
ever
they
had
have
a
done."
boss? Have you ever had a boss? Did you ever work for anyone?
Yes, and I still do.
Okay. So
I was
hypothetically,
about to say I'm married, so I don't.
this is where we go.
There you go. Yeah, well, Kari and I agree.
So anyway, you have a boss. You're working with your boss. You're at a dinner. You might be going for another job. You're not going to insult your boss while you're at the table, right? She is still the vice president of the president of the United States. So if you ask me, hey, what has your boss done wrong at this company? You're not going to say, well, he's done this wrong and this wrong and this wrong. You're going to say, I think, well, I'm here at this company and I'm doing my job. That's her job as the vice president.
That is why
as
there's
the
only-
presidential candidate,
Isn't there an
she's going to
argument
speak
to be
differently.
made, though, that even from a strategic perspective, there's no harm necessarily in her saying, actually, I would do something differently.
There's no harm at all. You're exactly right.
The American people
100%.
might actually want to hear her say that.
No, but that, I mean,
But don't you think
but
she
that's
is?
also kind of blind to say, because what you're discounting is the fact that this individual actually got 84 million votes. What you're actually discounting is the fact that in places like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan, there are demographics, particularly in the blue wall states, where he does extremely well.
But do you think that even
Actually, it's at 48, 49%.
even
It's 39.
Oh,
It's 39.
Bakari.
Gallup has it
Oh,
at
Lord
39.
have mercy.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's Real Clear Politics
do you
averages
think
at
that even the
39.
people who voted for
That's the
Joe
average you're
Biden
talking about now.
believe that he did everything right?
No. I don't think
then
Barack
that's my-
Obama did it.
What standard are we
that's
living
a-
by? That the
point is that
president did everything right.
Respectfully,
Even
Abby,
the
that's an
people who-
insane argument to make because I don't even think Barack Obama did everything.
standard
right.
here-
I'm just
you-
saying,
she
no,
asked an important question.
what I'm saying is even the people who support Joe Biden, it sounds to me that like
This
you're
cap is
suggesting
just
that
massive,
she can't distance herself
Too
from
much
him
cap
because
up.
they all voted for him. But those people are not saying he's perfect either.
That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, though, is that contrary to the belief around this table, there is value to Joe Biden. And I'm also articulating, because we can have a nuanced conversation, that although there is value to Joe Biden, we also have to realize that Kamala Harris did a great job articulating tonight what her presidency would look like versus Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is not running against Joe Biden to be president of the United States of America. She's running against Joe Biden, and it's a binary choice. You get hate, division, or you get Kamala Harris.
Or you get low gas prices, low grocery prices, a secure
gas
border, and a
prices
world
are-
that's not in
gas
war, which is
prices-
the opposite of what you have right now.
CNN
We did
reported
just
to-
talk about this.
CNN gas prices are
They're actually going down.
radically down. They're
just
down
And as soon
nationally on
as they
average.
stop draining the SPR, they're going to go right back up
Well, look,
again.
I
my
think
God.
this is all a piece of a double standard that I think is being applied to Kamala Harris, left, right, and center. If you want to talk about people and their ability to acknowledge where things might have gone wrong or could have gone differently, I'd encourage you to name one time that Donald Trump has said, you know what, I got this wrong.
He said he could have hired better people in the first. He made some mistakes with
That's
some
because
hiring.
none of them
Because
endorsed
none of
him.
them will work with him again.
I worked with him. I'm there.
No, okay. So if your claim is that the only thing that he has acknowledged doing wrong is hiring John Kelly, Esper, Milley, and all the people who have
She can't even say that.
No, but here's
Well,
here's
again,
what?
but look at the reasons why he's saying that is because they have all said this man is a threat to the way we as a country function. So sure, I guess if hiring people that are not loyal enough to you and too
But
loyal
here's
to
the one
country,
fundamental difference.
Fair play.
He has
Which is
a
what he
record
wants
that
to
people
change the second
remember.
time.
2/3 of
They
the
do.
American
All right,
people
Scott,
think our
you
country's
last
on the
word.
wrong track.
Last word, then we gotta go.
You're raising a correct question. The problem is that the most adjacent person to Harris is Biden, and he is the current president. And contrary to Bakari's new math, he does not have a 49% approval rating. There's a reason he's not the candidate. He has an approval rating for most of his term below 40%.
What's Trump's national approval rating?
And Donald Trump's retrospective approval is now over 50%. So the reason, and I think
Wait,
Abby was
what is
correct.
his current national approval rating?
I really
Not
think I
50%.
think you're miring
Oh, it is.
down in
Look
the
at the
approval
polling.
ratings
His-
and the percentages.
Let me just get to
That's not an
I just
approval
want to
rating
understand
stuff.
the gist of what you're saying.
Yes, but what you
that's not
said.
an
So
approval
the
rating.
reason what you said is correct. The reason you would separate yourself from the less popular person is because people clearly don't want it anymore, and she's not yet done that, which is, I think, the point you were raising.
And if I may make a point before we carry on, I think it would be great if she could run on what Biden has done, because what Biden has done is actually tremendous.
I agree.
And I think it is absolutely bananas that she has to even think of distancing herself from the Jobs and Infrastructure Act, from the CHIPS Act, from the PACT Act. We haven't done infrastructure. Why are you laughing? We
Please
haven't
keep
done
talking
anything.
about the CHIPS Act. If you
Yeah,
look
no,
at the
because
polling on the
it-
issues,
I
Joe
don't care
Biden
about the
is
polling. I care about
60%
jobs that are
disapproved
happening in
on
the country.
every
Oh my God, I
single
can't even
major
speak.
issue.
Listen, Mark.
All right, leave.
There are things that have
Oh,
passed in this
great.
country that haven't been done in years. Infrastructure. We're going to start seeing things
Oh,
5 years from now,
great.
2 years from now, 3 years from now. People are going to say, in retrospect, holy heck, was Joe Biden
Oh,
a fantastic
great.
president? But right now, we have to pretend that he was some god-awful president when, honestly, he passed more major infrastructure bills, more things for guns, more things for the climate, more things for the veterans, and the Republicans voted against all of it.
And
So
what
to
if
say
that's
that we have to
immigration?
run away from him is absolutely
What?
crazy.
What?
And yet the propaganda works.
What?
And you guys keep banging on the same things and you say he was terrible. And we're going to see in the future he wasn't terrible. He was fantastic. But she has to
we gotta go.
differentiate herself from him right now.
Oh, if the vice president takes her advice, she definitely ain't finna be in the White House next year. Tell you that much. Because that ain't finna fly. That is not going to fly. Absolutely not. Because people are saying the reason they are in this predicament is because of Bidenomics. So if she doesn't distance herself from Bidenomics, I don't know. What else we got?
This is the same old playbook as before. Why not just, why? Well, we know why he does this, but in the last week of the campaign, it's just sowing fear.
Well, first of all, it's my sincerest hope and belief that we are going to have a free, fair election in this country, largely because of the diffused nature of it and all the volunteers and county clerks and secretaries of state who pull it off. So that's my number one view. Number two, the story he is referencing is a real story. I mean, I'm looking at the headlines right here. Pennsylvania election offices on high alert following potential voter registration fraud investigation in
okay, but
Lancaster
Scott,
County. So it's a
Scott,
real story. He's talking
That's
about.
not what he said.
We played
I know.
what Trump said. I fact-checked it. He said there are 2,600 votes. They're not votes.
He's
They're
wrong about
voter
that. It's registrations.
But can I tell you
They're
why
being investigated. There's no
But
scandal
let me tell
at all.
I mean, this isn't rocket science, though. Like, and Scott is absolutely correct. I voted today in South Carolina. My wife and I, we went to the Strom Thurmond, or the Blott, excuse me, one Strom Thurmond, the Blott Peace Center on the campus of University of South Carolina, full of volunteers. They were there ushering us around, making sure we got there correctly, no long line, shout out to them. But this isn't rocket science. We see it on X every single day. What Elon Musk has created, what they've created is this echo chamber whereby people just come online and simply say, oh, it's hashtag too big to rig, or they're doing this, or Elon will say something and quote tweet something that is the most far out conspiracy theory ever and simply say, community notes, is this true? And we know that my 5-year-olds know that it's not true. And the reason that they're doing this is to sow distrust in the elections so that when Kamala Harris actually has the most votes on November 5th, you see the tweets that say, I have sources inside the campaign from a random guy who doesn't exist, no one is ever talking to. Like, it's all about sowing distrust so that people can say that Kamala Harris didn't rightfully win.
He's
But then
actually
why
bringing
can't
up-
Democrats come out and say 2,600
Wait.
voter registrations that are either
Mark,
manipulated, illegal,
Mark,
or fraudulent?
Wait a
or wrong?
second.
No,
Mark,
but time out. Put him in jail.
Okay, then
Yeah, who
why,
did it and
why
put it
is
in
the
jail?
why is the Biden DOJ
Mark,
suing
Mark,
the state of
there is
No.
an
You asked me a question and I
investigation
answered
You
it
did.
directly.
That's good. I like
Put
that.
him in jail. And you know what I bet you'll find out? The voter fraud that we've seen in this country, the 1, 2, 3, 4 dozen instances we've seen in this country, contrary to Elon Musk, contrary to Charlie Kirk, who you've advocated your little voter harvesting to, you know what's happening? Those are from Republicans. Like, if somebody is committing voter fraud in the country, lock their ass up, Mark.
Look, the reason Donald Trump actually is where he is because he's actually still cleaning up the mess from Sunday in Allentown, where more than half the population is Hispanic or Latino. This is a problem. I mean, contrary to the idea that this was all a joke and nobody cares, the Trump campaign cares because they're there talking about Puerto Ricans and why his campaign, in his words, loves them. So he's doing damage control.
Sure, he's doing damage control, but I just feel like, aren't we tired of this? Aren't we tired of these people, they're not trying to win. They're just trying to make sure, as you said, that when she wins, we don't believe it, that we can accuse the other side of cheating. It's exhausting. And honestly, that the damage control that he's trying to do for Madison Square Garden, it wasn't just from one joke from one comedian. It was every single speaker that spoke just doubled down on the hate.
And let me just play a little bit from Nikki Haley, who responded to this. She's supposed to be a Trump surrogate. She endorsed his campaign, but here's what she had to say.
This is not a time to have anyone criticize Puerto Rico or Latinos. This is not a time for them to get overly masculine with this bromance thing that they've got going. You've got affiliated PACs that are doing commercials about calling Kamala the C word, or you had speakers at Madison Square Gardens, referring to her and her pimps. That is not the way to win women. That is not the way to win people who are concerned about Trump style.
That is quite the endorsement of the Donald Trump campaign strategy. I've never heard anything like it.
Mark and Scott.
Or sneaky.
Okay.
Respond. Go ahead. They wait on Nikki.
Yeah, no, she's right. I mean, the the pre-program at this event did not match what I think the campaign wanted to do on Sunday. They released a couple of really, really well-done ads. They obviously wanted the centerpiece of their day to be Trump's speech, which was largely focused on immigration and the economy. Those are the issues that work. And people were let up onto the stage, including this comedian and others who obviously were not.
Sorry,
were not on,
they weren't let up onto the stage. You
Say,
didn't crawl out of the audience and get up on front of the mic.
I love the idea that the MSG rally was just an open mic and people just rolled on stage.
It was
and
kind of a silly variety show.
No, it was
not a silly variety show.
No, Scott, I completely agree. It was a silly variety show that was programmed by the Trump campaign and vetted in depth. Every single speech, every single joke had been vetted by the campaign, and
they've already come out and said that those jokes were not in that script, and that was
here's the thing.
But
this is the point. It's not just Tony Hinchcliffe's
They looked
jokes.
at that speech. They took out a C word joke, but they left the rest of it.
But he made jokes that were not in the script. So
No, hang on, Scott.
But I get it though. Kamala's got nothing else to talk about. She's got to have grievance and play the victim.
No.
Oh my God, bro! What do you mean she has nothing else to talk about? Please stop saying that. I am begging you to stop saying that.
Let me let Franklin finish his point.
First of all, it was not just Tony Hinchcliffe's jokes. There were references to her being to her pimp handlers, and you can try to make the argument as much as you want. I would encourage people to go back and watch that Trump speech, just like Kamala did during the debate. The purpose of that speech was not immigration and economics, and to the extent that it was a piece with demonizing the Latino community, right? This is not the problem with, I think,
she has nothing to talk
about. She views this as an error, as a mistake, as a misplacement. It's not a bug, it's a feature. This is Donald Trump's closing argument. It is a closing argument that he has doubled down on in comments subsequent to that. And meanwhile, in Las Vegas, later this week, Kamala Harris is going to be on stage with Mana and Jennifer Lopez. And there could not be a clearer separation between the Trump campaign and the Harris campaign in terms of who she's prioritizing.
Mark, I think one of the things that we're talking past each other is you said she doesn't have anything else to talk about, right?
Correct.
You said that she's losing, she doesn't have anything else to talk about. When the fact is that if this was a normal year and you all were running a normal candidate that could stick to issues, we would be having a totally different discussion today. But we're fundamentally having a conversation about what type of country we want for our children. That is literally the conversation that we're having. And I don't want my kids to grow up where they are being bastardized because of who they love or what they look like, right? And when you have people who go on stage, and I am doing everything but accusing you of this, right? I am not doing that. So before we jump off the side of the mountain, let's just make sure we know that I'm not accusing you of that. I know you know that. But what I am saying, though, is Donald Trump has given the green light to a lot of this. And what happened at Madison Square Garden, again, was the fact that that green light happened under Donald Trump's umbrella. I'm old enough to remember when racists stayed inside, right? Kill Tony, I think that's his name, has been a racist. He's been a bigot. Yeah. He's been a homophobe. And I mean, he's little. So I would actually say that to his face. I'm not going to call out Joe Rogan to his face, but I will call out.
But to my point, if I could really work quickly.
We got to leave it there. I mean, but to Bakari's point, it wasn't just let up there. He was invited to this rally.
Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. This is not to pick sides. However, how many African American comedian has made jokes about the Caucasians? You know, I'm sure the brothers in the chat are like, man, your ancestors are rolling in the graves right now. That's what they're saying. But it's the truth, okay? It is just the truth.
We believe in self-governance, that the people we elect to run the government, for God's sake, ought to be the ones who actually run the government, not unelected bureaucrats in the deep state that are running the show today. So you want another mass deportation? Let's get 3 million federal bureaucrats out of the D.C. bureaucracy. That's the mass deportation that saves the country.
All right, deport the bureaucracy. I love that. Joining us now, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's a businessman and author of Truths, The Future of America First. Vivek, I just want to say, your speech at the Garden on Sunday was just wonderful. We've already quoted you several times, and it's a pleasure to have you back on the show. And we should have a mass deportation of all these permanent, tenured bureaucrats in Washington. And the neat thing is, listen, as you know, Elon Musk wants to join you in this. Howard Lutnick from the Transition wants to join you. What they call DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. I mean, now's the time, and I think you've got the group around Mr. Trump to get this done.
Absolutely. For the first time in American history, we also have Supreme Court precedent at our back. In this case, they're American citizens, Larry, but I would just say deport them into the private sector from the bureaucracy. That's where we need them right now. And you hear the MSNBCs of the world, whenever they talk about protect our democracy, what do they actually mean? They actually mean protect our bureaucracy. And that bureaucracy is really the one that is the actual threat to democracy, because the people who we elect to run the government, they're not the ones making most of the rules. They're the unelected bureaucrats that are writing these unconstitutional regulations. And the reason I'm really optimistic for the second Trump term is not just because Donald Trump's ready to do it. It's not just because of the team of people I hope to be an important part of that, to be able to drive that change in this country. But even more importantly of all, the Supreme Court has given us the legal backdrop to do it, saying that if it was an important regulation, a major question, it should have gone through Congress rather than through the agencies, overturning Chevron deference. This is a once-in-a-century opportunity, Larry, and I think that it's up to us to step up and seize it, and I think that's the mandate that people are going to give us on November 5th.
Well, I think it would bring joy to the majority of voters. We will find that out a week from today. But, I mean, so you've got options here, right? You could disband the whole department. I mean, if you ask me, the education department could be disbanded. I'm not sure anybody would care. Maybe send a few of them out into the countryside. Other departments could be substantially cut. A friend of mine was saying the other day, Vivek, if you take a look at what Elon Musk did when he took over Twitter, I mean, I think he slashed 90% of the staff at Twitter because he saw it was not necessary when he turned it into X. I assume your management style would be very similar to that. So what kinds of things do you want to do? Let's say day one, up to the first 100 days. Do you want to go after the agencies? Do you want to go after the people? Do you want to go after the bureaucracy? Change the mission? Put a little meat on the bones for us, please.
Yeah. So I think there's one way that I think is the wrong way to go, which is to say that we want to take the left-wing bureaucracy and replace it with the right-wing bureaucracy. I think that's a failing strategy. We have to keep our eye on the North Star of actually shutting down that bureaucracy. Well, now if you've thinned out the regulatory state in terms of the regulations by over 50%, that gives you a roadmap to say that we don't need 50% of those bureaucrats either. It gives you a rational basis for mass headcount reductions where there aren't claims of racial or gender discrimination or political viewpoint discrimination. When you have these large mass firings, that falls outside the civil service rules. So these are straight up laid up by the Supreme Court and legal precedents. It's now up to us to have the electoral mandate to actually carry that out, which is why the next 7 days are so critical. But once we send Donald Trump back to the White House with a mandate to drain that swamp, armed with Supreme Court precedents that he did not have back in 2016, I will remind you, that allows us ultimately to create a government that is accountable to the people rather than the other way around, which is what we've had really since the last century. Woodrow Wilson, then you get to FDR, then you get to LBJ, and even some Republican presidents like Richard Nixon along the way that have expanded this. We get to put a century-long project finally to rest to say that we're going to revive a self-governing constitutional republic that our founders wanted to see. And by the way, Larry, that is the single greatest economic stimulus that we could give the United States of America right now, is take that regulatory wet blanket off of our economy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. It's an energy and innovation boom in this country. It's waiting to happen. We just got to send Donald Trump to the White House to do it.
So I was just thinking two things quickly, Vivek. First of all, the Civil Rights Act, 1964, Title VI and Title VII,
Vivek, for sure,
expressly forbade affirmative action on the basis of gender or sex or color. So you have entire bureaucracies called DEI have sprung up, and other bureaucracies related to DEI. Those should go, and the people should go. No, this stuff is illegal. I'm surprised it hasn't been struck down. I mean, the courts have struck down part of it, but not all of it. The other thing I'm thinking about as you're talking about it is, with respect to these bureaucracies and let's say Chevron deference, there are no legislative mandates for these regulations. So therefore, okay, out, you're gone. No legislation, then there's no bureaucracy. Those are just thoughts that I have. I worked in the budget office a long time ago, and I've been in government. Why not? Those are two things right there. Use the Civil Rights Act and use Chevron deference. There's no legislation, you're out of here.
Absolutely. And Chevron deference, the overturning of that in the Supreme Court was a seismic event this year. The problem is some of those acts from the 1960s also created agencies, Larry, as you well know, like the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, that actually went on to do far more damage to the private sector than anybody who actually voted for the Civil Rights Act ever imagined in the first place. So we have 60 years, I would argue, almost a century's worth of damage to undo. That's what makes this a historic opportunity, a historic election. Also, just as a very pragmatic matter for people who run businesses, you know that generally 20% of people do 80% of the work. At a government agency, it's even far more skewed than that. So I think a lot of the agencies that need to continue to exist, which are just a handful of them certainly, will function better when they're thinned out. And then many of those agencies, like the Department of Education to many others, don't even need to exist in the first place. And the mistake of a lot of conservatives in the last 60 years has been to go incrementally, to think that you could somehow bring a chisel and optimize that bureaucracy. That is a myth, Larry. I think that if you want to get this done right, you can't just mess around the edges. You have to go to the heart of it, go big, non-incrementally, shut it down, make our founding fathers proud. That's how you grow an economy. And by the way, even a lot of independents, centrists, and even some Democrats would agree with me on this one. I think we'll unite the country while doing it.
It's a structural problem. That's right. It's not just it's not a functional problem. It's not even a personnel problem. It's in so many cases, it's an absolute structural problem. The whole structure has got to come down. Some cases you're going to save them, and you'll put better people in to run them, maybe downsize them. A lot of cases, there's not. Don't say this thing. Anyway, Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you for your wisdom and your leadership and a wonderful speech at Madison.
Ooh, oh my goodness. If the 45th becomes the 47th, this is going to be wild. I'm telling you, this is going to be wild. This is my opinion, okay? I believe this is going to be one of the most interesting time in the United States because with everything they're saying they want to do, shutting down so many agencies, bro, this is just going to, in my opinion, one more time, bring more cash into the society, bro, because now you don't have to be paying people you don't have to pay. Like you heard, this is something I've always believed. There are some issues, there are some problems that don't even have to exist in the first place. That's why I always audit my life every time. Like, who do I have to cut off? Because there's some issues that people bring into your life that you don't even need to have. if you have just avoided that person. You know what I mean? All right, for people in the comment section saying we don't play both parties, we actually do. If you've been watching the live stream like from day one, we're gonna listen to Team Walz and the Vice President Kamala Harris right now. Let's get it.
Michigan. Thank you, Gory, for the kind introduction. And how about the incredible Maggie Rogers? Maggie Rogers says vote, people. Look, great thank you to the mayor of this incredible city of Ann Arbor, Mayor Christopher Taylor. Thank you, Mayor. And a couple weeks ago, I went to church with this guy, your Lieutenant Governor, Garland Gilchrist. Thank you. And there's not much I need to say. Someone I served with who just simply gets shit done in Debbie Dingle. So thank you, Debbie Dingle. Well, it's great to be in Wolverine country. Last time I was here, you were beating my Gophers, so thank you very much. I know. Look, I know on November 5th, I learned it while I was over here what Michigan's going to do. Let's go! Folks, thank you all for coming out. We're blessed on this beautiful evening. I know you could have done anything else, but you came here because you love this country. 8 days till the election. And our team is running like everything's on the line. Because everything's on the line. But here's the good news. If you're feeling any of that anxiety, any of that nervousness, any of that worry, we've got the solution for you. Get out there and vote for Kamala Harris. I know, I did it last Wednesday with my son who voted the first time, and it works. It works. I am so honored when she asked me to be on this ticket with her. And I have to tell you, I may someday live down the fact that I screened her first call and didn't answer it. So, look, her first day, from a prosecutor to a district attorney to the Attorney General of California to a United States Senator to the Vice President, Kamala Harris had had one client, the people. She stood up for women and children against predators and abusers. She stood up for seniors and workers against fraudsters and big corporate interests. And she stood up for families and communities and took on transnational gangs and traffickers. She talks about this. Kamala's mother taught her something. When you see something wrong, don't complain about it. Do something about it. That's exactly what she's always done. And that's exactly what she'll do as your next president. Look, Kamala and I are offering a new way forward where we lower costs for working and class people and middle class folks. And everyone gets an opportunity to get ahead, not just get by. She has a vision of an opportunity for all and freedom for everyone. Now, look, I know some of you are here, and we got a pretty young crowd. It's a good thing, but there's some gray hairs in here. You can remember when the Republican Party actually used to talk about freedom and mean it. Turns out that this group means that their government is free to invade your office, your library, your bedroom. Look, I've talked about it. I know you got it in Michigan. It's a Minnesota thing, golden rule. Mind your own damn business and we'll get along better. We'll get along fine. When Kamala and I talk about freedom, freedom for the people, not politicians, to make your own decisions about your own life. Freedom for seniors to retire with dignity by strengthening Social Security and Medicare. And I say this as a dad and a teacher and as a governor. Free to send your kids to school without them being shot dead in the halls. And I'll take no crap on this. I know guns. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. Kamala and I are both gun owners. We know that you can uphold the Second Amendment, but also uphold our first responsibility, protecting our children. Interesting fact here. Both members of the Democratic ticket are gun owners. The Republican nominee can't pass a background check. Let's be very clear. The most basic freedom. When we talk about freedom, Kamala Harris and I mean the freedom for every woman to make decisions about her body without government interference. And these folks aren't done yet. I mean fertility treatments too. And there's so many of us out there having to talk personally. If you've never gone through the hell of infertility, I guarantee you know somebody who has. It took Gwen and I years to finally have the daughter that we had. When she was born, we named her Hope. And she and her brother Gus are our whole life. That's what this election is about. Gwen and I were only able to have that family because we had access to fertility treatments. And I will be damned if anyone in this country should be denied the family that they want. All right, this is for about half this crowd. This is for the men. All of you have those women in your life that you love. Daughters, partners, sisters, friends, neighbors, colleagues, whoever it might be. Their lives are at stake in this election. Be very clear about that. And be very clear about this. When Congress restores the right to choose, making Roe the law of the land, Kamala Harris will proudly sign it into law. Eight days to go. This election's already started. People are voting across the country. And so you know what it means. This is where I've got to do it. Huddling up a little bit here. Time for a little bit of a peck talk. Look, we got to admit it. This game is tied. 2 minutes left on the clock. We got the ball. We're driving down the field. We're doing the blocking and everything we need to do. And I know you got a saying around here that came from Bo. The team, the team, the team. And boy, do we have the right team. So all gas, no brakes for the next 8 days. Plenty of time to sleep when you're dead. Our time now. We're moving this thing over the next 8 days, an inch at a time, a yard at a time, one door at a time, one phone call at a time. One of those door knocks and one of those interactions, because 1 or 2 extra votes per precinct in the state of Michigan will make Kamala Harris the President of the United States. If you got a buck or two, pitch in at KamalaHarris.com or find out what you can do. Early voting is open in Michigan. How many have voted? Yes. If you haven't, register in person. Go down, talk to your township folks. Get in there. You can do it all the way to Election Day. As Maggie said, visit iwillvote.mi. Ann Arbor, this is it. Leave it all on the field. Leave it all on the field. When you're old and gray like me and you're sitting on the porch and you're rocking in that chair and your grandchildren ask you, what did you do in 2024 to save this democracy? And you're going to be able to tell them every damn thing you could. Every damn thing you could. So Michigan, let's put that in terms you know. We'll tell them this. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Please welcome the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
He says when you're gray and old. I think Tim is what, 60 years old? I don't think that's gray, but that's not young as well. But 60. All right, let's listen to the the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
So let me just say about Tim Walz, he's been such an extraordinary running mate, and he will be an extraordinary Vice President of the United States. And let me tell you why I love Coach Walz. As he travels to every corner of our country, meeting with people in small towns, big towns, everywhere in between, Coach Walz is always bringing the joy. He is always bringing the joy. He cares about people. He understands people. He understands hard work. And he understands what it means to be a leader who lifts people up instead of trying to beat people down. That is Tim Walz. And Ann Arbor, I can feel the joy tonight. Thank you all so very much. And we have some other incredible leaders with us here tonight. Mayor Taylor, thank you. Deputy County Executive Turfy, I thank you so very much. Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, Representative Dingell, a champion for this community. And let's also send Alyssa Slotkin to the United States Senate. We need her in D.C. And I also want to thank all the labor, elected, and community leaders who are here today. And can we please hear it again for Maggie Rogers? All right, we got business to handle. Okay, so Ann Arbor, I have a question for you. Are we ready to do this? Are we ready to vote? Are we ready to win? Yes. And we will win. And we will win. So you just heard from the coach, early voting has started here in Michigan. You can vote early now through Sunday, November 3rd. And we need you to vote early, Michigan, because we have just 8 days to go, 8 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. And as everybody here knows, this is going to be a tight race until the very end. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win. And we will win because together, and we will win, yes, yes. We can keep going all night. But one of the reasons we will win is because we are all in this together. We are all in this together. People from every walk of life, understanding that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And we here are fighting for the future. We are fighting for the future. And we understand the opportunity that we have before us to turn the page on the fear and divisiveness that have characterized our politics for a decade because of Donald Trump. We have an opportunity to turn the page and chart a new and joyful way forward where we tap into the ambition. And we will tap into the ambitions and the aspirations and the dreams of the American people. And let me tell you something. As I travel our country, there is an overwhelming call for a fresh start. People from all walks of life. And they are calling for a new generation of leadership that is optimistic and excited about what we can do together. There is a yearning in our country for a president who will see you, who gets you, and who will fight for you. And listen, hey, on the subject of Gaza, hey guys, I hear you. On the subject of Gaza, we all want this war to end as soon as possible and get the hostages out, and I will do everything in my power to make it so. And let's be clear, we are all here because we are fighting for a democracy and for the right of people to be heard and seen. We're not about the enemy within. We know we are all in this together. That's what we are fighting for. And my whole career, okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And listen, I have fought my whole career to put the faith in me. And between the two extremely different visions that he and I have for our nation. His is focused on himself and the past. Ours is focused on the future, and it is focused on the people. So together we will build a future where we bring down the cost of living. That will be my focus every single day as president, because while inflation is down and wages are up, prices are still too high. You know it and I know it. And unlike Donald Trump, who had $400 million handed to him on a silver platter, and don't forget he filed for bankruptcy 6 times, the great businessman. Unlike him, I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood with a working mother who kept a strict budget and did everything she could to make sure that my sister and I had all we needed. I come from the middle class, and I will never forget where I come from. Never. And so my common sense plan will lower the prices you pay on everything from prescription medication to groceries to housing. On the other hand, Donald Trump will raise costs on you and your family. In fact, independent economists have analyzed both of our plans and found mine will cut your costs and strengthen our economy, while his will increase inflation and lead to a recession by the middle of next year. And his agenda is laid out in Project 2025. You know, I say everywhere, and I know we've got a lot of students here, and I have to tell you, I just find it really interesting that they put that thing in writing. They put it in writing. They bound it. They published it. They handed it out. And then they expect we're not going to talk about it? Are you kidding me? And when you read it, you will see it is a detailed and dangerous blueprint for what he plans to do if he is elected president. Donald Trump will impose a 20% national sales tax on everyday basic necessities, which economists have estimated will cost the average American family an additional $4,000 a year. Contrast, on the other hand, I'm going to take on corporate price gouging. I've done it before, and I will do it again. Donald Trump will give massive tax cuts like he did before to billionaires and the biggest corporations. He did it the last time. He's going to do it again. I, on the other hand, will give middle-class tax cuts to 100 million Americans, including $6,000 for the first year of a child's life, because I understand how that will lift America's children out of poverty, which must be one of our highest goals. Donald Trump will get rid of the $35 a month cap on insulin for our seniors. He will cut Medicare and Social Security. In fact, economists say he will bankrupt Social Security in the next 6 years. And understand what that means. So many of the seniors in America, that's their only source of income. That's the only way they're able to pay their rent and buy food. I have a plan to support our seniors so they can grow older with dignity and so their families are not overwhelmed by the cost of home health care. On top of that, my plan will bring down the cost of housing, cut taxes for small businesses, because small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and lower health care costs, because I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. Donald Trump, on the other hand, intends to end the Affordable Care Act and take us back, which would take us back to a time when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like? Well, We are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. And we're not going back because we together will move forward to the future, because we believe in who we are and what is possible, and because we know it is time to turn the page. It is time to turn the page. Ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom, like the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. And we all remember how we got here. When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did as he intended, and now in America, 1 in 3 women lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban. Many with no exceptions, even for rape and incest. I was just in Texas the other day. You know, they provide prison for life for doctors and nurses and healthcare providers for providing care. Prison for life. And no exceptions for a crime that is a violation of someone's body, and then to tell that survivor of that violation, you have no right to make a decision about what happens to your body next? That is immoral. It is immoral. And I know we all agree, one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do. Not the government. And listen, you all have heard me say, I do believe Donald Trump to be an unserious man. But the consequences of him ever being president again are brutally serious. Brutally serious. Consider, on the topic we were just discussing, Donald Trump still refuses to acknowledge the pain and suffering he has caused. He insists that, quote, everyone wanted for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. Everyone wanted this? Women are being denied care during miscarriages, some only being treated when they've developed sepsis. They didn't want this. Couples trying to grow their family have been cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. They didn't want this. The men of America are seeing their daughters and wives and sisters and mothers put at risk because their rights have been taken from them. The men of America don't want this. And women have died because of these bans. How could anyone say these folks wanted this? And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. Proudly. Proudly. And I'm traveling our nation, so I have to tell everyone here, across our nation, we are seeing a full-on assault on other and additional hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights, like the freedom to vote. I was just in Georgia. You know they passed a law that makes it illegal to give people food and water for standing in line to vote? The hypocrisy abounds. Whatever happened to love thy neighbor, right? Attacks on the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. So I say to everyone here what you know. Generations of Americans before us fought for freedom. And now the baton is in our hands. The baton is in our hands. And I want to speak specifically to all the young leaders, all the students who are here today. I want to speak to you for a moment. So I love your generation. I really do. And one of the things about it is you are rightly impatient for change. I love that about you. You are impatient for change. Because look, you have only known the climate crisis and are leading then the charge to protect our planet and our future. You young leaders who grew up with active shooter drills and are fighting then to keep our schools safe. You who now know fewer rights than your mothers and grandmothers are standing up for reproductive freedom. And for you then, I know that these issues that are at stake, they are not theoretical. This is not political for you. It is your lived experience. And I see you. And I see your power. And I know many of you are voting for the first time. Can I see a raise of hands? Who's voting for the first time? Can we hear it for our first-time voters? See, that's why I know the future of our country is bright. That's why I know. So listen, so much is on the line in this election, and this is not 2016 or 2020. We can all see that Donald Trump is even more unstable and more unhinged, and now he wants unchecked power. And this time, there will be no one there to stop him. Not even the Supreme Court, which months ago told the former president that he is essentially immune no matter what he would do in the White House. So think about it. Before, at least there was the threat, the possibility that there would be some accountability and consequence. Now the Supreme Court has said he is effectively would be immune. So just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails. He who has vowed he would be a dictator on day one. He who has even called for, quote, the termination of the Constitution of the United States of America. And let us be clear, anyone who suggests we should terminate the Constitution of the United States should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America. Never again. Never again. Never again. So, Michigan, there is a huge contrast in this election, and I'd ask us to just imagine the Oval Office in 3 months, okay? So just picture it in your head. So either it's Donald Trump sitting in there, stewing over his enemies list, or me, with your help, working for you, checking off my to-do list. So Michigan, it all comes down to this. We are here together because we know what is at stake. Everyone here, out of your busy lives, the time you have taken to be here tonight, and to be here because we know not only what is at stake, but we are here together because we love our country. We love our country. We love our country, and you know when you love something, you got to fight for it. Ours is not a fight against something. Ours is not a fight against something. It is a fight for something. And I do believe it is one of the highest forms of patriotism, love of our country, to then fight for the ideals of our country and to fight to realize the promise of America. That's what our campaign is about. That's what we are about. And one of the most powerful ways that we will do that is with our vote. So now is the time to get out the vote, Michigan. Now is the time. And we have 8 days to get this done. So obviously, nobody here is going to sit on the sidelines. And let's make sure that we spend the next 8 days knowing that in 9 days, when we look back, we will be able to say and know we did everything we could to remind our friends and our classmates and our neighbors and our coworkers that we're all in this together. You know, there's been something about this Trump era that's been very backward in terms of trying to suggest that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of what we all know. The true measure of our individual and collective strength is based on who we lift up. That's what we are about. And over these next 8 days, yes, we will win. Yes, we must win. But let's also approach these 8 days knowing our power to build community, knowing our power to build coalitions, knowing our power to reach out to one another, reminding us that nobody is alone, that we are all in this together. And let's do that then while we knock on doors, while we take the time to text and call potential voters. Let's reach out to our family and our friends and our classmates and our neighbors and make sure they know the stakes in this election. And let's remind them your vote is your voice and your voice is your power. And so, Michigan, I then ask you, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it?
You've heard from the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. She says, do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Do you believe? Let me know if you believe. However, the OG, the legendary, the 45th, who most people say might be the 47th, who I casted my vote for 2 days ago, he is right now in North Carolina, Rocky Mount. This is live. This is live one more time. I repeat. This is live, guys. Let's go listen to the legendary Donald J. Trump. Let's get it.
By the rank and file membership of the Teamsters who endorsed us, I will tell you the Teamsters, we got 62% or something. And I got the endorsement. Oh, what a beautiful endorsement. Thank you. Wow. Well, thank you very much, North Carolina. You are a special group of people. In fact, my beautiful little grandchild, the most beautiful little girl you've ever seen, is named Carolina. Do you know that? I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. But I'd like to ask you one very simple, easy to answer question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I think so. I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans with your vote in this election. Oh, it's coming up so nice. We're down to 6 days, maybe sort of 5. Maybe 5 the way you count it. 6 days, can you imagine? I will end inflation. I will stop the massive invasion of criminals into our country. And I will bring back a thing called the American dream. Isn't that nice? Because we haven't had that. We haven't had that in a long time. Our country will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. And this election is a choice between whether we'll have 4 more years, think of this, 4 more years of gross incompetence, the most corrupt, horrible people. These are horrible people. Oops, we should get along with everybody. They're horrible people. You know, some people you just can't get along with. You can't. But whether we're going to have 4 years of incompetence and failure, or whether we'll begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country, that's what's going to happen. And I'm asking you to be excited about the future again. You have to be excited about it. We have a great potential. If we have to go another 2 days beyond that term, we're not going to have a great. We have to get this done now because we're not going to have a second chance. There'll never be a second chance. It's too far gone. We're really, we are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. But don't worry, we will not be a nation in decline for too much longer, I'll tell you. We'll be a nation of incline as opposed to decline. But I'm asking you to dream big again. You're going to have to dream big again. It's going to be hard for you to do that because you've gone through a long period. But we had some great 4 years. This will be America's new golden age. This will be better than what we had even 4 years ago. Remember, we were energy independent. We had everything. Every problem facing us can be solved. But now the fate of our nation is in your hands. And this is a very important state. Number one, I love the state. Number two, we've always won. I won the primaries and I won the elections. And I didn't have to worry about it. So, if you think 2016, we did great. 2020, we did much better, actually. They say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. We only got about, 12 million more votes, right? But this is the best of all. This is more enthusiasm than there was for even 2016 or 2020. This is the best. Nobody's ever seen it. I just saw General Kellogg, wherever he may be backstage. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Look at that general. He's a real general, not like Millie. Not like Millie. Not like Kelly, low. He's a low IQ guy. But this is a real general. He's great. But he said backstage, this reminds me, sir, of 2016. I said, thank you very much. That's a good reminder, isn't it? He's a great guy. This Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala that you've had enough, that you're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, Kamala. Get the hell out of here. The worst vice president, the worst border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border in the history of the world that allowed criminals to pour through. 21 million people, think of it. Well, we're running a campaign of solutions to save America, an America which they have virtually destroyed during their almost 4-year period of rule. Kamala Harris, a low IQ individual, is running a campaign of hate, anger, and retribution. See, I'm very nice to them. They're not nice to me. She spends all of her time complaining about everything, but there's nothing about it. She's going to do this, she's going to do that. Why the hell didn't she do it, right? So now she's talking about what she's going to do on the border. Well, I'm going to do this and that and this and that. All they had to do was leave the border alone. We had this border in the history of our country. In fact, to prove it, put up my chart, that favorite chart. I love that chart. I love that chart. That was the day I left office. We had the lowest number ever. The day I left office was where the red arrow is on the bottom. And then it became like an Elon Musk rocket ship, right? Look at that. Look what happens to it. Right after that, it went to hell. They let it go to hell. We had remain in Mexico. You couldn't come into our country. I had to remain. You think that was easy to get from Mexico? I had to be very threatening. I always said, you're not going to do it? No, sir, we're not. Why would we do that? I said, because if you don't do it, I'm going to put a 100% tariff on your cars coming in. Sir. Took me about 1 minute. They went from, we will absolutely not do that, sir. Why would we do a thing like that? Remain in Mexico. They have to remain in your country. I said, no. I tell you why. You know why? They went from that to say, sir, we would be delighted to do whatever you'd like, whatever you. Now I said, we're going to put a 100% tariff on your cars if you don't do it. So they said, we'd love to have our people we would love to have MS-13 gang members, criminals, people from mental institutions stay in our country. It would be our great honor, sir. It was really amazing. It took less than a minute. But, or what she's going to do about inflation. I'm going to do things about, she caused the inflation. By screwing up my energy policies, she caused the inflation. And spending way too much money on the Green New scam. She caused it. But why didn't she do something about it, right? Or what she's going to do to get the economy going. We're going to do this and that. Oh, by the way, her plans are the plans of a simpleton. They're not going to work. We'll be in a depression like 1929. What we're going to do to get the economy. But why didn't she do it? Why didn't she do all these things? She's saying, we're going to do this. She's trying to disassociate herself from Sleepy Joe Biden. I like this audience. I didn't say it. Well, the guys, who just said that? He can handle himself. They scream, she's an idiot. But I didn't say it. I didn't say it. In fact, I'd like to admonish you, sir, you should not say that, please. This way, the press can't get me. You know, they say, well, I know you want to. It's really good. Well, no, I don't accept that. So I would never accept a thing like that. No, but she is. He can handle himself, that guy, too. She and Crooked Joe head up the worst administration in the history of our country. They've made Jimmy Carter look like a truly great president. In all fairness to Jimmy, he didn't let 21 million people, many of them criminals and those that are mentally ill, pour into our country. He didn't let that. Jimmy Carter didn't allow that to happen. Last night, Kamala made a speech, not much of one, with a paid-for audience, and all she talked about was Donald Trump.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I will speak about Donald Trump. 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 Trump.
Do you believe it? Because she and Joe have no achievements, only failure and gloom. See, that was so perfect. It worked out perfectly. I said, how am I going to say? Normally you'd stop and you'd say, please take a look at the video. But I have some very talented people. I say, when I say Donald Trump, you just let that go. They did a good job. And then I finish the sentence because they have no achievements, because they're a disaster. She suffers from a very serious disease known as Trump derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome. TDS, sometimes referred to as TDS, it's quite serious. It's inflicted havoc on some lives. But many Democrats suffer from that disease, and It's only because of one reason, because we're winning. This week, Kamala has been comparing her political opponents to the most evil mass murderers in history. And now, speaking on a call for her campaign last night, Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. And they mean it, even though without question my supporters are far higher quality than Crooked Joe or Lying Kamala. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans. You just can't. And you can't be president if you hate the American people. And there's a lot of hatred there. Kamala Harris is not fit to be president of the United States. She doesn't have the intellect, the stamina, or that special quality that real leaders must have to lead. We know what that is. It's a special quality. Joe Biden's comments were the direct result of Kamala's and Tim Walz, you know? You know who that is? His decision to portray everyone who isn't voting for them as evil or subhuman. You're not subhuman. I'm looking at you. You are not subhuman. And we know it's what they believe because look how they've treated you. They've treated you like garbage, frankly. They've treated you like garbage. You know what? The truth is they've treated our whole country like garbage, whether they meant to or not, because they're grossly incompetent people. And they've destroyed our country. Our country is suffering right now like it's never suffered with inflation. And with the infliction, think of it, they've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that are criminals, that are the highest level criminals. 13,099 Border Patrol, which endorsed me, by the way, very strongly. And it wasn't like I had any competition. 13,099 murderers, many of them murdered more than one person. 13,000, these are the numbers from Border Patrol during their term. 13,099 murders were let into our country. You have drug lords, you have terrorists, you have people from mental institutions. They're all let into our country. And I actually feel it's number 2 or number 3 on the list of things. Number 1 is the economy. Number 2 is inflation. Number 3 is what they've done to our border. What they've done to our country. They call it immigration. It's not immigration. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I think that it's, frankly, should be number 1 on the list. I think inflation's terrible. What they've done with inflation is gross incompetence. But when they allow 21 million people, and it's probably much more, that doesn't even include the gotaways, you know, gotaways. These are people that just run across the border. What they've done to our country there's never going to be an excuse for what they've done to this country. For the past 9 years, Kamala and her party have called us racists, bigots, fascists, deplorables, irredeemables, Nazis, and they've called me Hitler. Call me Hitler. You know, many years ago, I had a father who was a great guy. He was a strong guy, a legitimate guy, strong. But you know, he always used to tell me, never use the word Nazi and never use the word Hitler. Now we're called Nazis, and I'm called Hitler. I'm not Hitler. Boy, my father, he's looking down. Well, my mother, I know she's looking down. My father is a little questionable because he was a little rough. I think he's looking down because he was a good guy. He was a strong guy, but he was a good guy. But he's looking down. He said, can you imagine? That's what they're calling my son. I told them for years, literally never use the term Nazi or Hitler. Now they're using it on us. It's unbelievable. They've bullied you. They've demeaned us. They've demonized us and censored us and deplatformed us and weaponized the power of our own government against us. They've gone after their political opponent, me. It's unbelievable. Did you see? Donald Trump wants to put us in jail. Donald Trump is going to go after some of the scum that you see back there, that's so dishonest. Donald Trump is doing horrible things. He wants to put us in prison. That's what they've been trying to do to me for 3 years. They got the story mixed up. And we won the big case in Florida already. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Remember? Oh, we got him in Florida. That was the documents case, and I had the Presidential Records Act and lots of other things. But Joe Biden had the same case except times 10, because he took it out when he wasn't president. He did a lot of things. And they found him guilty, but they let him go because he was mentally incompetent. But they said he could be president. So they said, he can't stand trial. He's mentally incompetent. He's got no memory. And he's just got it. He just doesn't have what it takes, okay? But think of this. Here's the ruling. He can't stand trial because he's mentally incompetent, but he can be the president of the United States. Figure that one out. Mr. Congressman, figure that one out, Hudson. Can you imagine? They have taken your money. They've thrown open your borders to criminals and terrorists. They've flooded your towns with deadly drugs and death. They've given you jobs to illegal migrants and sent our blood and treasure to fight really stupid foreign wars, countries that you've never heard of, countries that you and your children have never even heard of. This Tuesday is your chance to stand up and declare that you are not going to take it anymore. You're not going to take it. 6 days from now, we can turn the page forever on this failed and corrupt administration. They are corrupt. They are failed and they're corrupt. They're the worst administration. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of our country. And his partner, now she's trying to convince everyone, oh, well, I really had nothing to do with anything, you know. I'm sure he loves hearing that. She is the worst vice president in the history of our country. By the way, if you go back a few months, everybody was saying she's the worst vice president. She's incompetent. She's a dope. She's everything you can imagine. All of a sudden, they decided they better get politically correct, okay? And they chose her over 12 people that are far more competent. We can declare once and for all that we are done with their hatred. We are done with their hysteria. We are done with their hoaxing, lying, cheating, scheming, plundering, and stealing. And we're not going to let them divide and destroy America any longer. And that goes for Barack Hussein Obama, too. He's a divider. He's a divider. And Michelle, oh, she said bad things about me. Ooh. Michelle got out there the other day. Oh, I've been very nice to her. I guess that means I don't have to be nice anymore. Right? Oh, I'm looking forward to this. No, Obama was a great divider. He was a great, great divider. What we have built is the biggest, broadest, most incredible coalition and the greatest political movement in American history, I think in any history, if you want to know the truth. It's made up of the hardworking men and women who make this country run, who make this country great. We've brought together veterans and union members, soldiers and steel workers, farmers and auto workers, and patriotic moms and dads of every race, religion, color, and creed, right? We're welcoming historic numbers of African Americans and Hispanic Americans and Asian Americans and Arab Americans. And we're uniting Christians and Jews and Catholics and evangelicals and Muslims and Mormons and everyone who simply wants one thing. They want one thing, to make America great again. That's all they want. Our campaign has been endorsed by the 400,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police. And I don't believe there's a police organization in America that hasn't endorsed us. And I don't believe there's even a single policeman or policewoman, a cop. That's another thing. My father always used to say, never call them cops. That's disrespectful. I don't know. I think, look, I'm going with my father. So we're going to say policeman or policewoman. Never call them cops. That's disrespectful, son. I don't know. Makes sense? If my father said it, I do it. But think of that. I don't think a single policeman or policewoman has endorsed her. She was a leader of Defund the Police. That's hard to get an endorsement. Yes, I was in charge of defunding the police for 10 years. I'd love to have your endorsement. But then we had the Border Patrol agents who are so incredible. For 4 years, they haven't called her. She hasn't called. Think of this. 4 years. I said, has she ever called? Has Biden ever called? Sleepy Joe? No. I said, you don't mean no. You mean maybe they haven't called you, but have they called you? We had the top 10 leaders up. They gave me the best endorsement you've ever heard. And the worst statement about her, they said she's grossly incompetent. And then she's supposed to be running. I don't believe, they say it's like a close race. I can't believe it's a close race. Not that I just can't believe it. But I said, did she ever call you? No, sir. Never once. I said, you mean in almost 4 years? No, she never called, sir. Never once. Nobody. She never called anybody. She was in charge of the border, whether you call her borders or she doesn't want that name anymore because it was so bad. She did such a bad job. But she was in charge of the border. Think of this. And she never called Border Patrol one time in 4 years. By the rank and file membership of the Teamsters who endorsed us, I will tell you the Teamsters, we got 62% or something. And I got the endorsement. Oh, what a beautiful endorsement, because I love brilliant people. We don't have too many of them. We have to protect our brilliant people. There aren't too many of them. There aren't too many of them, period. But a certain guy that took a rocket that's 22 stories tall and came back down, and those thrusters went off, and I said, oh, no, it's going to crash into the gantry. It's going to crash. It's going to be terrible. But it didn't. It came down, and it was just about ready, and then the fire blew out of the bottom on the left side, and it moved it over, and then it came here, and it came down, and those two big arms grabbed it, like you grab your baby. Like you grab your baby, right? Elon Musk gave us a great endorsement. And I just spotted somebody. I didn't know he was going to be there. Is that who I think it is? My eyes are what they. You stand up, please, would you? Huh? Yes. How are you? Huh? And look at these two. Look at these two. These two ladies have been with us, and this guy has been by their side right from the beginning. In fact, they take the place oftentimes of some of our front row Joes. So very successful people. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. But Elon gave us an endorsement that was beautiful. He said, it's the most important election we've ever had. If Trump doesn't win, and he doesn't, he wants to he's a very straight shooter. If Trump doesn't win, he said, we don't have a country anymore. We're not going to have a country. And it was amazing, actually. And you know where he is right now? He's campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. Can you imagine? He told me something very interesting. He said, for an election to be really on the up and up, you have to use paper ballots. He said that to me. Now, here's a guy who I would say is the all-time genius at computers. You know, he was telling me that when you see those rockets firing, he said the computers are more important than the engines. I understand. He knows more about computers than anybody I've ever met, and I know some pretty smart people. I had an uncle that was at MIT, a professor for 41 years, the longest-serving professor ever. I have that. It's something in my blood about that. Elon knows more about computers than anybody there is. Every time you see those rocket ships land, like in the ocean on a raft with a circle, boom, it's like unbelievable, right? And he said, for purposes of voting, because there's never a computer that's not easily cracked, easily if you're a genius, more difficult if you're less than a genius. But he said the best way to have an election is very simple. Paper ballots, voter ID, proof of citizenship, same-day voting. And he said same-day voting. And there's a guy who's the number one computer guy. You would think, you know, it's interesting. Paper ballots would cost 8% of what you have. Now I'm hearing all sorts of stories. We're not going to have the result by Tuesday night. We spend all this money on computers. If you go back to paper ballots, and it's watermarked. You know, paper is now very sophisticated, believe it or not. It's all watermarked. You can't play around with it. They can check it immediately. It's all, like, identified. But paper ballots, so think of it. 8%, it would cost 8% of what the machines cost. Now, they hate when I talk about this, but I just want to see one thing. I don't care whether it's machines or whatever's going to be the best, but if paper's the best, paper, one-day voting. You know why? Because we don't want the air conditioning to be fixed. Oh, excuse me, you'll have to move those ballots in that room. We're going to fix the air conditioning. Oh, where are we going to move them? Well, let's move them out of the place for a little while. We'll move them back next week. Oh, where are they? There were 14 boxes. Now there's 6. What happened to the rest of them? You know, no. One-day voting. You have one-day voting. We used to have one-day voting. By the way, France went back to paper. France had 39 million people. They had voter ID. They had proof of citizenship. That's all. They didn't have mail-in. You know, mail it. How about California? They mail out about 38 million ballots. 38. It's like you're throwing them off a building. 38 million, and then they get sent back somewhere. Nobody knows where. And then they always announce that the Republicans are about 5 million short, without fail. Because I believe that if we had an honest election, if God came down from on high, and God said, I will be the voting tabulator for the day, I believe I would win California because I do great with the Hispanics. I believe I'd win. We need God as our vote counter just one day every 4 years. We won't even go after the 2. We won't even talk about for the Congress people that we have sitting all over the place, just for the presidential elections. If we had God, oh boy, would it be a lot easier and a lot better. The other thing we need is we need an honest and respected press. We don't have that. So I want to thank Elon Musk, and I just thought I'd give you his words of wisdom, but that's what he said. He said paper ballots are the way to go, and it's the only way to go. And you're talking about a fraction of the cost. And you would have the election determined, solidly determined by 9 o'clock or 10, whatever time you want. They put them in boxes. They seal the boxes. They hand the boxes. Every box has so many. I mean, you would have an accurate count by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, whichever hour you chose. And they had that in France. It ended at 10 o'clock. The vote was broadcast. Nobody said, oh, I won or I didn't. It was, everyone went home. They had a winner and they had a loser. Everybody went home. It's a shame. And we're talking about for a fraction. If you said it costs 10 times more, you should do it. But it costs only about 8% of what they spend for machines that send these results to who knows where. Very, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. You know, last time we got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. But we lost, they say. They say we're wrong. We're also endorsed by somebody that loves healthy people. He wants to make our country so healthy. And he's a great guy. Now, he wants to make he also has a big thing on the environment. And I'll tell you what, I say, that's okay, but you can't touch our liquid gold, Robert. Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., RFK Jr., and he's going to work, and he's very strong on, you know, the pesticides and all of the different things. And you know what? We don't have a very healthy country. When you look at our country compared to other countries, we are not a healthy country. And he says, we're going to make it a healthy country. I say, good, Bobby, but do me one favor. Don't touch the oil and gas. Let me handle that. I'll handle the oil and gas. We're not going to let him get involved. We're not going to let him get involved in the oil and gas. Well, listen. No, we'll watch that. We're going to be very careful with our liquid gold. That's one of the biggest assets we have as a country. We have more liquid gold than anybody, including Saudi Arabia, Russia. Tulsi Gabbard came in, highly respected, a woman of great common sense. And they just gave me the name because I've had great respect, but I didn't know exactly why they had him on. Buzz Aldrin, very respected, the great astronaut, and highly respected. But I thought it was an unusual because we have a lot of people that endorsed us, and and do you notice the Washington Post and Los Angeles Times and all these papers, they're not endorsing anybody. You know what they're really saying? Because they only endorse Democrats. They're saying, this Democrat's no good. They're no good. And they think I'm doing a great job. They just don't want to say it. Washington, and USA Today, congratulations. I just heard USA Today has not endorsed. They said, we're not going to endorse. That means that they think she's no good. But Buzz Aldrin's very interesting because great astronaut, but he's not the youngest person in this room, but he's a very sound man and great, looks fantastic. What he did is he said, I've never endorsed anybody in my life before, like General Kellogg. I've never endorsed, of course, he started endorsing me approximately about a minute after I announced I was running, but that's because he's a smart general, right? 1 minute. Was it 1 minute or was it 30 seconds? But Buzz Aldrin, for the first time in his life, he said, this is the first time I've ever made an endorsement, never made an endorsement. I'm endorsing Donald J. Trump. Isn't that nice? So thank you, Buzz Aldrin. And I like him, too. I've always admired him. Kamala and Joe call them all of those people that I just named and all of the people here. And I think probably more than 200 million people in this country. You know, we really don't know how many we have because those borders have been opened so badly, you don't know. You know, other countries can tell you approximately what they have. I don't think this country does. But let's say you had 350 million people. If she won, you'd have 600 million people in about 3 years. You'd have open borders, the whole world, every criminal from all over the world. Well, we're going to have that pretty soon anyway, but we're going to deport them out of here fast. But let's say 225 million people. She's essentially, and he's calling them garbage. They're a team, by the way. Oh, she hated that last night when she heard that. Although, honestly, I don't think she's smart enough to know what it really means. What that meant, that makes deplorable look like baby stuff, right? Deplorable with her. Remember Hillary? She said, deplorable and irredeemable. And I said, oh, what a terrible term to use the word irredeemable. I didn't know. Somehow irredeemable. I think it's worse, right? But you know what's worse than anything? Garbage. We're garbage. We're garbage. And I call you the heart and soul of America. You're the people that built America. And together on November 5th, we're going to bring our country back to levels of greatness never seen before. And I'll tell you, look, North Carolina, it has been special. You know, when you just win a place, I love you. I love Alabama. In Alabama, I win by 48 points. Even you haven't caught us on that. Tennessee, we have so many great states that really love us. But you know, the nice thing is when you have a place that you can just rely on, where you can really rely. I love you too. Look at her. She's so beautiful. Oh, she's all excited. I love it. I do. And there's Mr. Wall. See that jacket? He's a genius. He's one of the smart people. He makes a lot of money. He's a professional. But he likes these rallies. I think it's like 279 rallies. Can you believe it? He likes Trump. He likes Trump. And I like him. I feel comfortable because it's a wall. We always needed a wall. And one day I'm going to find out where you bought that suit, and I'm going to wear it to one last, because, it's sad. We've done this for 9 years. We had the greatest rallies in the history of the world. Chancellors and prime ministers, people would tell me they watch the rallies from Europe. Everybody watches our rallies. Everybody loves our rallies. We never have an empty seat. They try and demean us like that horrible, horrible person that I debated where she said, and people leave early. Nobody leaves early. If I saw them leaving early, you know what I would say? And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'd make America great again and I'd leave. Right? That way they could, but I've never had to do that. I'm very capable of doing that, But nobody should say, or people leave early. And then I hit her hard on that. I said, no, we have the greatest rallies in the world. There's never an empty seat, and nobody leaves early. And they said, and the fake news people, like Brit Hume, the fake news people said, oh, he fell into a trap. She's got no trap. She's got no, this is not a trap. When somebody says something, you have, and it's wrong, you like to say, no, that's not, it takes about 5 seconds, and you want to put it on the record that they're wrong. He fell into a trap. The real trap was you had David Muir during the debate. I had the Biden debate, and that didn't work out too well for him. And then we had the other one, and I think I did better, the second one with her. She talked about the grass. What are you going to do about the economy? Well, I grew up in an area where I had a grass yard. I actually think in a certain way Biden was better than her, okay? But you had David Muir, and I said, crime is soaring all over our nation. The migrants are pouring in. And he said, and he stops me. Crime is not soaring. Crime is going down, because he believed the FBI statistics, which were a fraud. And then it came out the following day that crime was, in fact, soaring at levels that nobody had ever seen before. They didn't include certain cities. I won't mention the cities because I have a lot of friends in those cities. But they didn't include certain cities for their statistical review. What a shame. What a shame. We need great FBI. The people in the FBI are so incredible, too. I'll bet you if they took a poll in the FBI, I think I'd be at 97, 98%. I really believe it, I think I'd be. But they have some people that just don't want to do it. Don't want to do their job properly. It's a shame. We have a lot of things we're going to correct in this country. We have to correct them because we need honesty. We just need some basic truth. But David Muir, so this guy David Muir, pretty boy, he goes, that's stuff. I don't think he's that good looking anymore. Time does that. No, but that's terrible. He interrupted me 11 times or something, right? Every time I said something, that's not so. And then he had a woman who I never heard of. Don't know her name, don't want to know her name. She's not very good at what she does either. But when he didn't interrupt me, she did. And if you look, I was right about just about Mr. Congressman. I think just about everything. I was right about just about everything. He said, Trump was right about everything. How about the hat? Trump was right about everything. Trump was right about everything. But we've said, now, but think of it. So that must have been the first one. I followed that storm right in. But I saw the devastation. I actually came back the following week because I didn't want to get it anyone's way. It was a travesty. It was vicious. It was water. The water was the worst we'd ever seen. It was a water hurricane. That's what it was. And it took houses right off the foundations and ripped the foundations, concrete foundations, like they were paper. And I saw areas that were just like gone. And yet you've set an all-time record in early voting. Think of it, the deadline you have set up till the date. Now, here are people, I'm talking about most of you who come from this area. Some people are coming from outside of North Carolina, but in North Carolina, these are people that have been devastated. They've lost their homes. At a minimum, especially in certain areas, they broke records in every single area, and some of the people, they didn't even have a home anymore. They were living in tents. No, but how great, and then those lowlifes call you garbage. No, think of that. Think of how bad it is. They have the nerve to say that. Think of the fact, when we were looking at the numbers in the various states, and we came to North Carolina, and it just was hit by that horrible hurricane, and it just hit the hardest. I mean, others were hit badly too, but you were just wiped out. I said, if we get 30% of the people to vote, and it was pretty much a Trump district, most of the area, I said, wow, that's bad. That's bad for a lot of reasons. Number one was it's bad, and people died. That's by far the most important. But from the standpoint of the voting, I said, if we get 30 or 40%, that's amazing. That'll be amazing. They broke the all-time record. Think of it. Think of it. Amazing. Now, you're superior people, okay? Not garbage. You're superior people. If anybody would have, nobody. I went to one of the big pollsters. I was talking to him right after we got those numbers, because the numbers are coming in great. We're doing great in North Carolina. That doesn't mean you don't vote. Now you go on Tuesday and you just vote, right? But you got it. He says, we've got you. But when you think, I said to a pollster, I said, what do you think the chances? He said, it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen as a pollster. And I guess some people had to come back, and you couldn't even come back because you had areas of land with no river, and now it's all of a sudden landlocked. It's all waterlocked. I just think it's incredible. I think it's a great tribute to North Carolina, and I'd like to thank you very much. Amazing. It's amazing. You are hardy people. You are hardy people, aren't you? Look, she knows what I'm talking about. She knows what I'm talking about. The deadline for in-person early voting in North Carolina is Saturday, but you can do that, or you just come. You come whenever you want. I'm one that was saying, a lot of people say vote early. That's great. But the main thing is vote. You got to vote. We got to vote. You got to vote. Republicans tend to vote on Election Day, and they like to make sure, I think, that vote goes into a box, somewhere, and then they want to watch where the box goes to. But you got to just vote, and I think we're going to have this is a very important state. We win this state, we're sailing. We're sailing. We win this state, we're sailing. So if you have a ballot, send it in, or get everyone vote. You're going to vote, and we're going to have record numbers. I think you're going to have. We're heading to record numbers in North Carolina, despite one of the worst hurricanes anyone's ever seen. And I will say this about my competition: they did a horrible job of rescue and help. One of the worst. And I don't even believe it was because it was largely a Republican area. I think they did it because they're incompetent, okay? They did a horrible job, one of the worst jobs since Katrina, but some people say it was a worse job. Nobody's even showing up. You don't even see. And then you learn that they've spent almost $1 billion and they don't have any money for North Carolina or Georgia, or a lot of the other states, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina. I mean, think of it. Georgia got hit so hard. But then you find out, and then you listen and you find out that they don't have any money. FEMA, because they spent their money. FEMA spent money on bringing illegal aliens into our country. I'll tell you something. First of all, it's going to take a while anyway. They should be there. You know, there's nobody even sees anybody from the federal government. You know who's done a good job? Franklin Graham. He's in here. He's in here. He better do a good job. I gave him $7 million. He better. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. No, we gave him a lot because he does the best. He does a great job, and they have some others that do a great job. But we gave him a lot of money, raised a lot of money for him, and he is always, every time I have, because I've seen a lot of tornadoes and hurricanes and horrible storms, and every time I get there, he's always there with his crew of volunteers. It's pretty amazing, actually. Franklin Graham, he does a great job. He's got good genes. He's got very good genes. My father used to take me to Yankee Stadium to watch Billy Graham fill up Yankee Stadium. He filled it up like it was nothing. And my father liked going to see Billy Graham. With your help, 6 days from now, we're going to defeat Kamala Harris, and we're going to win back that beautiful, beautiful White House. We're going to win it back. Kamala Harris cast the deciding votes that launched the worst inflation in the history of our country. She cost the typical American family over $30,000 in higher prices. They basically spent too much money and screwed up my energy policies. We had gas at $1.84. I thought it was $1.87. Just came out 2 days ago, $1.84. It was lower than it. A lot of people say $2.50. No, not $2.50. It's $1.84 a gallon. How would you like to have $1.84 a gallon now? We'll have it. We're going to have it again. Liquid gold. It was just announced today that economic growth missed expectations again for this quarter. It's always missing. This economy is a disaster, and now Kamala wants to raise the typical family taxes by at least $3,000 a year. If I win, we will rapidly defeat inflation. Oh, we'll have it done so. I'm going to bring your energy down to 1/2 of what it is now. It's going to go, in 1 year, we'll have it down 50%. And that'll bring everything else down, and we're going to bring the interest rates down, and we're going to make America affordable again. We will make America affordable again. Because we have this huge spike that took place over 3 years, massive spike. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And none of that's come down. Bacon hasn't come down. Apples haven't come down. Lettuce, nothing's come down. People so often, they talk about groceries. They haven't come down. I will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses. And we will have a very special kind of a thing happen. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. None. Thank you. Now, if you think our seniors, you know, they have a very fixed income, most of them. You know, I'm a senior too. Somebody would say, oh, he's doing that, he has a conflict of interest. These fakers back here, they'll say, he has a conflict of interest, he's a senior. He's given himself a big tax break. No, we're not gonna let that happen. But the seniors, a lot of seniors have a fixed income, and their Social Security, I mean, it's what's happened to all of the other things, and this will get you back to even, pretty much even, I think, by doing it. And I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of their parent or loved ones. And I said this almost a week ago, and guess what? Last night, Kamala said the same thing. She copied my no tax on tips, but you know what? She's not going to do it. She only said it a couple of times. She said it without, because she got killed when she said that. But now, last night, I don't know if you noticed, last night she copied she copied the caregiver statement. And let me tell you, these people that take care of their family and other people, these are incredible people, and they're entitled to it. They're entitled to it. They got to get it. Starting on day one, she copied me last night, of my new administration, I will bring back energy independence like we had it. We were energy independent 4 years ago. Now we get our oil from Venezuela. It's called Venezuelan tar. You know, it comes like in tar, and you got to heat the hell out of it. And there's only one plant in the whole world that can do it, and that's located in Houston. So for the environmentalists, go take a look at those chimneys in Houston. It's not a pretty sight. I will bring back energy independence, and we will drill, baby, drill, and we're going to start right from the beginning. And to get back our millions of jobs that have been lost, we will give our companies the lowest taxes, the lowest energy costs, the lowest regulatory burdens, and free access to the best and biggest market on the planet. That's us. But we're not going to have that good market anymore if we don't stop it right now, because we're losing it. But only for those companies that make their product here in the USA and hire American workers for the job. And if these companies don't make their products here, then they will be paying a stiff tariff when they send their products into the United States for the privilege of competing with our workers and our now protected companies. They're gonna pay a stiff price. They're gonna pay a stiff price. So we're gonna protect. We have to protect, because they take our companies, they move them into Mexico, and it's pretty incredible. And you heard that I knocked out the biggest auto plant anywhere in the world. I just knocked it out. I did it without even being president. I told them they were building in Mexico, China, the largest auto plant anywhere in the world, and they were going to send those cars into us, and they were going to destroy Detroit. They were going to destroy Michigan and a little bit of South Carolina, where they have sort of a different system. They were going to destroy our auto manufacturing. The little that we have left, we probably have 40% compared to what we had years ago. And they were going to destroy, they were going to build the biggest auto plant in the world, and I heard about it through a man that was building the plant, the best in the world. He builds all the plants. I said, I want to see a plant. He said, you'll have to go to Mexico. I said, I don't want to go. I want to see one here. He said, we don't really build them here anymore. We build them in other places, but we build a lot. And Mexico is a real threat. Don't kid yourself. What they're doing in Mexico. And so I said, I don't want to go to Mexico. What are they doing over there? They're building some of the biggest plants in the world, one in particular. I said, wow, that's no good. I thought about it. Then I spoke before the Economic Forum in Detroit, very nice group of people. And I said, you guys are losing your shirts, and Detroit is, making a comeback for 40 years. It's time now. We got to bring some companies back here. And I didn't like what I heard, because when they make millions of cars out of something where you literally press a button and it makes cars, when that happens, that's no good for us, because they're going to just flood the market and destroy everything that we have in Michigan and Detroit. And some, where you have it, some, you do big parts business, very big parts business here. So they're going to destroy you. So I announced that I'm going to put a 100% tariff on that plant. And I saw the man about 2 weeks ago. He was in the audience, the man that builds the plants. And I said, John, could I talk to you for a second? I pull him aside. How's that big plant coming in Mexico? Sir, they've decided not to build. They think you're going to become president, and they'll lose their shirt. They're not building the plant. They're not building it, huh? Look at Emmer. Emmer likes that. Now, can you imagine that? They're not building the plant. They're not going to build the plant. And that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be real simple. And you know what? If they built the plant in this country, I'm okay with it. They can build it. They don't have any tariff to pay. They have no tariff to pay. It's very simple. And, some of the deals made with these politicians, they were either really stupid or crooked as hell. Because this could have been done, and I've done it. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China, hundreds of billions of dollars. They've never paid anything. They never gave one president 10 cents. I took hundreds of billions, and from other countries, and we were just getting started. Anyway, we'll also pass what's known as the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That means if China or any other country charges us 100 or 200% tariff or tax, then we will charge them 100 or 200% tariff or tax in return. It's an eye for an eye. And I will never apologize for defending America. I will protect our workers. I will protect our jobs. I will protect our borders. I will protect our families. And I will protect the birthright of our children to live in the richest and most powerful nation on the face of the earth. And as we rescue our economy, I will also restore our borders. Over the past 4 years, you see what's been happening. It's carnage. It's carnage. It's a carnage. Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted on our people. What she's done. She has violated her oath and eradicated our sovereign border and unleashed an army of migrant gangs who are waging a campaign of violence and terror against the citizens of the United States of America. Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions, the most dangerous anywhere in the world and from all around the world. From Venezuela to Congo, the Congo in Africa, they're sending us large numbers of prisoners from the Congo in Africa. Congratulations. Welcome to the United States. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from all over. They're coming from Europe. They're coming from Asia. And a lot are coming from South America, but not all. They're coming from all over the world. They're emptying their prisons into the United States. They're emptying their mental institutions into the United States. They're going to be empty very soon. And you know what's happened to their crime rates in places like Venezuela? Whoa, way down. They've taken their street gangs and they brought them into the United States and they said, if you ever come back, you will die. We're going to kill you. That's what they tell them. So these are including savage criminals who assault, rape, and murder our women, our girls. What they do to our families is outrageous. And my people told me, please, please, don't say you're going to protect women. Women don't want you to say that. I said, really? Why? This is my geniuses. These are the people we pay all this money to give you political advice. I said, why? Women don't want to be protected, sir. I said, really? I don't think so. They want to be attacked by MS-13. Is that what they want? They want MS-13 to go in and knock their door down and do bad things? No, I don't think so. I think women, I'm going to protect the women, I'm going to protect the children, and I'm going to protect the men. I'm going to protect everybody. From these animals that have been unleashed into our country and from foreign powers. Look, I mean, is there any woman in the audience, please, that does not seek protection? Please raise your hand. Is there any woman in the audience that wants to be protected? I think so. Okay, let's fire those people, please. They're all fired. They meant well. Anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office, and she has set a record. And today I want you to hear something that's very disturbing. Everybody, I just came out, just was done. Everybody that's heard it, I've seen tough people, very tough men, literally crying watching it. We just put it out just now. But I want you to hear it directly from a mother whose world has been shattered by the open borders insanity of Kamala Harris. Please.
Sunday night, I asked her to not stay up super late because of her coming to work with me in the morning to do her summer school. She said, okay. I told her good night and I love you. I went to bed, not realizing that that was going to be the last time I saw her.
We're best friends. Yeah.
We're going to shake it again. I woke up to notice she wasn't in her bed. I'm in my heart trying not to lose my mind because I don't know where she is. I finally remembered her phone had a location on, and her phone was pinging just 2 minutes down the road, right behind the skate park. I start driving to the direction the phone was being pinged at, and I see a couple cop cars with lights on. I see yellow tape, and immediately my heart drops and sinks to the bottom of my stomach. My daughter's hands and ankles were both bound. She was strangled to death, left with no pants. And I know in my heart, she fought incredibly hard. She was not going down without a fight.
We begin with 2 men we're learning are charged with capital murder tonight, accused of killing a 12-year-old girl.
Police say these men strangled her before dumping her into that creek. Both men were in the country illegally.
Apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death. The men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungare are affiliated with the gang known for brutal violence.
Kamala Harris was in charge of immigration and our borders. If we had better border policies and not open borders and not these catch and release policies, I truly believe this all could have been prevented. Under her being vice president of this country, my daughter's life was ripped away from her. She had her entire life ahead of her.
Happy birthday, dear Jocelyn.
My daughter is 6 feet in the ground based off of policies that she allowed to keep. Kamala Harris did have one job, and she not only failed, not me, she failed my daughter. She failed Jocelyn. You know, she was only 12. President Trump reached out, gave me his sincerest condolences as not a former president, but just as a father, someone who cares. I believe Donald Trump needs to be back in office. I can at least know that my next child will be safe in this country.
There's just no reason for it. Thank you very much. No reason. There's no reason for that. Thank you very much. But there's no reason for that. Open borders, open borders. Anybody comes in, doesn't matter where you come from. They don't even know where they come from. They don't check them. They don't know where they come. Are they from jails? They don't know anything about them. They just let them pour into our country. It's incredible. Now she's sort of stopped it by doing just a little bit because she was getting killed in the polls. And if they ever won, they would open those borders and you would have millions and millions more people come in, and there'd be criminals. If I ran one of the countries that we're talking about, and over the last few months, it was 181 different countries. Most people don't even know there are that many. There are actually more. 181 countries were represented, and they're letting their criminals and their jails and everything into our country. They're destroying our country. They're destroying our country. And we can't take it any longer. We have to change. We have to change immediately. I think it's the biggest problem. I think it's bigger than the economy. I think it's bigger than inflation, because they're ruining the fabric of our country. You're not going to be able to walk out of your house no matter where you live. If you're in a farm, they're flying people in with the big Boeing jets, the biggest ones, and they're taking hundreds of them in. They're landing in the Midwest and all over the place. They're flying them right over the border. They're sick. The day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. The savages charge with brutalizing and murdering precious Jocelyn are members of the same vicious Venezuelan prison gang, Tren de Aragua, that's taking over apartment complexes and unleashing a violent killing spree all over America. You've read about them in Colorado, Aurora, Colorado. They've taken over complexes. They've taken them away from landlords. They've told people to get out. They've told the people, you pay us the rent from now on. You don't pay it to a landlord. You don't pay it to a property owner. You pay it to us. They've even taken over Times Square. Take a look.
Open borders, deadly consequences.
Border crisis. Record high crossings are putting a strain on cities across America. It is a full-blown invasion.
Armed Venezuelan gang members storming an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado.
When people talk about migrant crime, this is what they're talking about.
San Antonio, Texas, just one of the latest cities to have apartment complexes taken over by members of the Venezuelan gang.
Biden and Harris had created a program to bring them in under humanitarian parole.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been released into the United States.
My 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was murdered in her own room. Kayla's murderer was apprehended by Border Patrol crossing illegally into the U.S.
Kayla's murderer had been improperly released into the United States.
Abolish ICE. Yeah, we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
More than a dozen people suspected of being Tren de Aragua gang members right here in San Antonio.
The gang members had been terrorizing the apartment complex.
New details in the murder of Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national.
And was paroled and released into the country by the Biden administration.
If they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
Martinez and Angel wrapped his arms around Jocelyn's neck, took off her pants, and climbed on top of her. Later strangled Jocelyn to death and then tied up her hands and feet.
Court documents suggest a group of men arrested for beating and robbing a Dallas woman last month are members of a Venezuelan street gang.
The men threatened to cut off her fingers if she did not cooperate. Manuel Hernandez was booked by Colleyville police just 2 days earlier and released the day before the robbery.
A Peruvian gang leader who is wanted for 23 murders, who was arrested by Border Patrol near Roma, Texas, then released into America.
This is what we have coming into our country. The United States is now an occupied country, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. We will not let this happen. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It'll be Liberation Day. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. I will rescue every city and town that's been invaded and conquered, and we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country. And to expedite removals of Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and all of these gangs that are now living happily in our country, I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Can you believe that? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement official. And I will immediately ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. With their open borders, they're going to destroy your Social Security and Medicare. They're going to destroy our health care, but I'm going to save it all, and I'm going to save our country. That's what we're going to do. These people are all signing up. Kamala's gross incompetence, she's a grossly incompetent person, disqualifies her from being president of the United States. Everyone knows it. No one respects her. No one trusts her. No one takes her seriously. To make her president would be to gamble with the lives of millions and millions of people. She would get us into World War III because she is too grossly incompetent to do the job. And then all of your sons and daughters will end up getting draft notices. They'll come, Mommy, Daddy, what does this mean? Son, even daughter, That means that you're going to be drafted to fight in a war against a country that you've never heard of. Congratulations, son, and it may be the last time you ever see them. We're not going to let that happen anymore in this country. Our enemies are laughing at her. If we win, America will be feared and respected again on issue after issue. Kamala broke it, and I will fix it, and I'll fix it quickly. On top of it all, Kamala says she would not do one thing differently from Joe Biden, which in itself is disqualifying. Take a look.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking 2 New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition.
US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
Authorities saying Train Day Aragua, which has been linked with more than 100 criminal investigations here in the U.S., has now been found operating its criminal enterprise in apartment complexes.
Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
There is not a thing that comes to mind. So maybe the worst thing that we could be talking about, 325,000 children that the press never talks about. 325,000 children have come into our country and they're now missing. They're going to be dead, or they're going to be sex slaves or slaves of some kind. 325,000 children, many of them are dead. And she said there's not a thing that comes to mind. You know, they just like she's a fraud. She's a total fraud. She's a liar. She even lied about McDonald's, didn't she, huh? But she's a total liar. They lied about 818,000 jobs that they said we built up over the course of their wonderful management. It turned out to be a total fraud. And they weren't going to announce that until after the election, but we had a whistleblower that called them in. You remember that just a few months ago, they said 1,818,000 jobs were created, and they weren't. They're fake jobs. And they were going to release the correct information. They were going to do a little deletion, and they were going to release it right after the election, but they got caught. We can't let ourselves be duped by these people. These are criminal people as far as I'm concerned. We're thrilled to be joined by representatives, and they're great warriors, and they're friends of mine, and they fight side by side. Congressman Richard Hudson. Richard, thank you very much. Great job he's doing. One of the most powerful people in Washington, a great congressman, Tom Emmer. Tom, thank you. Thank you, Tom. And another great friend is Byron Donalds. He's fantastic. Fantastic. And you have a congressional candidate that I know is going to win. She's up in the polls. She's doing great. Lori Buckout. She's fantastic. And she's got my complete and total endorsement. And somebody that is a star, well, I'll let you know that on the 6th. Is that okay? But I think he's a star. North Carolina GOP Chair Jason Simmons. Jason, thank you. Great. So I also want to say hello to Keith Kellogg, General Kellogg. He's one of our really great generals. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Been with me right from the beginning, right? From day one. And my son-in-law, Michael. Michael is a fantastic young guy. I have to introduce him. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. I also want to send our prayers to everyone in North Carolina and other states still recovering from the hurricanes. If I win, we will get them and we will support you. You know, on January 20th, it's not too far away anymore. January 20th is when you take office. We'll have people here so much you will say, please, we got too many people. Get them out of here. We have too many people. We had great success with FEMA. And if you know, it would be amazing. It's been acknowledged that the hurricane rescue effort and rebuilding effort is the worst that we've just about ever seen, outside of maybe Katrina, but I think it's worse. There's nobody even here, and the devastation is incredible. And how the hell could you vote for somebody that's in charge of it, right? So I don't think you're going to vote for Kamala. Here are the facts. Kamala is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crazy Bernie Sanders or Pocahontas herself. She destroyed our economy. She was an original creator of defund the police movement, and anybody who wants to defund the police for even 1 week or 1 day is not worthy of being president of the United States. Kamala vowed to abolish ICE, our great heroes of ICE. As California Attorney General, she redefined child sex trafficking, assault with a deadly weapon, and rape of an unconscious person as totally nonviolent crimes. She pledged to confiscate your guns and endorsed a total ban on handgun ownership. Would anybody in North Carolina want to give up your guns quietly? Oh, oh. Oh, it could have had an impact on my hearing for the rest of my life. That's not going to be an easy job, is it? No, but that's where she comes from. She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention at taxpayer expense. So in conclusion, with your vote this November, we are going to fire Kamala and we're going to save America. Going to get her out. Going to get her out. Right? Come in. We're going to get her out. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to North Carolina where they belong. And I have a little personal favor that I'm going to do, North Carolina. I'm going to get your furniture builders and artists and manufacturers. We're going to bring them back. They left you for China. They're going to be coming back because this is where they want to be. I came down here so many times. I'd build a hotel. I said, I want to go to North Carolina. I came so much. I'd say, no, I like the arm to be a little bit on that chair, a little bing, 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 bing. These guys were so good. And now you have just a fraction of what you had. You're the best in the world. I'd buy from China, and then they'd sit in a chair. Then the chair would collapse, and I'd get sued. This is true. They'd sue me because the damn chair would break at a hotel. Mr. Jones would sit down. He's slightly overweight, like about 200 pounds. He'd sit in that chair, and the thing collapses. The next thing I know, sir, you've been sued by Mr. Jones of someplace. Now you built the greatest furniture in the world, and you're going to be doing it again. You're doing it a little bit, but you're going to be doing it again. We will build American, we will buy American, and we will hire American. I will end the war in Ukraine. It would have never started if I were president. I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening. I will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect that they so dearly deserve. We're going to take care of our police. We will strengthen and modernize our military. I rebuilt our military, and they gave a lot of it away to a place called Afghanistan in the most embarrassing moment of our country's life. We will build a missile defense shield massively. We are going to build the greatest, the biggest missile defense shield. A lot of it's going to be made right in the USA. It's all going to be made in the USA. It's going to be made right here, though, a lot of it. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C., which is horribly run, which is filthy dirty, with graffiti all over columns and lions and everything else. And we're going to take care of our capital. We're going to make it beautiful and safe. We're not going to have people being killed there, but we're going to make our cities beautiful, clean, safe again. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we will get critical race theory and transgender insanity out of our schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports, if that's okay. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech. And I will defend the right to keep and bear arms, your Second Amendment. And I have everybody's endorsement, including the NRA, and always have had it. And it is under siege. Your Second Amendment is under siege. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are finally going to build up our country, defend our borders, and protect our citizens. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We will not be conquered. We will not be conquered. They are conquering us. They are conquering us from within. We will be a free and proud nation once again. Everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive. And every day will be filled with opportunity and hope, and will be filled also with a thing called the American dream, something you don't hear about so much anymore. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda with a landslide that is too big to rig. You need to get out and vote. That's all you don't have to give me money. You don't have to give me anything. Just go out and vote. Who has voted so far? Oh. Who is going to vote? Okay, get out. Every vote. Thank you very much. That's very impressive. For the past 9 years, we have been fighting against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth. With your vote this election, you can show them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. Belongs to you guys. It was hard-working patriots like you who built this country. And 6 days from now, it is hard-working patriots like you who are going to save our country. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help from now until Election Day, 6 days, we will restore America's promise, and we will take back the nation that we all love. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down, and we will never, ever surrender. Together we will fight, 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 and win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country, and together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, North Carolina. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. God bless you for tuning in. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. This man gives me goosebumps sometimes every time he gets towards the end when he say, I will protect this, I will do that. I'm like, yo, because I knew what the economy was like from 2016 to 2020, man. Did you remember that when you had some money in your savings account? When you knew, bro, like I knew even with $10, my car gas tank is about to be on half tank. With $10. I don't have to worry about nothing. I was taking road trips like never before. We're about to go back to the good times. But actually, now I believe it would be the better time because think about it. You have Vivek, you have Tucker Carlson, you have Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, you have, did I say Vivek? And of course, you have Iron Man. Who is Iron Man? The innovator, Elon Musk, bro. Think about the coalition of these people. Think about this is called Justice League, bro. You have Justice League about to get to the White House. This is exciting time in the United States. I am so happy. I am so glad to be alive and to be in the United States and to be a citizen of the United States and to be able to vote and to be able to bring this rallies to you guys. You guys are the best. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in God. Believe in yourself. Okay? It is your boy Genesis. We have come to the end of the live stream. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. I see you, Average Joe. Everybody tuning into the live stream. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. I gotta go. I gotta go. Space Cakes. Who else? Christy, Dale, Aretha Johnson, Greg, man, Brian. Man, everybody, man, everybody. It don't matter if you're not voting for the OG. It still doesn't matter as long as you're here. God bless you. But I know for a fact, deep down, you're gonna enjoy the benefit of having the OG in the White House. You know that. Everybody knows that. You're gonna enjoy the affordable prices. You're gonna enjoy the secured border. You're gonna enjoy not sending all these resources to other countries. You're gonna enjoy it. You're gonna enjoy low mortgage rates. You're gonna enjoy it. So even if you're not voting, I know you're my brother and sister. You're going to enjoy it. Okay. God bless you. Genesis is signing out. All right. I love y'all. See y'all soon.